Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha.
How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Just thinking about everything that's happening in the world is a little bit of a downer.
Yes.
You know, pandemic and protests and police violence and just it's a lot to process, you know?
Yeah, it's been a difficult, it's been a difficult time since March with the pandemic, and then now all of this is going on, and yeah. But I'm hoping it's very difficult. It feels different this time because this type of thing has happened before with the protests in response to a Black man's death at the hands of police. But this feels different. And I'm hopeful. Do you feel hopeful that this is going to bring change?
I do. I think there's a tipping point maybe that's been reached. And that's a good thing. That's a silver lining maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hopeful. Maybe I'm being too much of a Pollyanna.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. But, you know, what is the other? The opposite is just thinking dark thoughts. And we can't live in those dark thoughts. So I'm trying to be positive about this, that something good is going to come through the protests.
I wasn't able to attend any of the protests, but there was a protest in a neighboring community, Seaside, where Sarah and Kai have their Post No Bills business, and they were there. And Sarah said it was really inspirational and peaceful protest. Lots of people, disrupting the community, which is what a protest is supposed to do.
Yeah.
But they, she was able to be there, and I saw some pictures from that protest, and then they had a protest in Salinas that started down at the college and then walked right in front of the house down the street. And so I was able to see I didn't know it was going. If I had known about it, maybe I would have gone. I don't know because I'm not out and about. And I have been very careful not to be out and about because of Aunt Betty. So I'm not sure I would have attended even if I had known about it, but I didn't know about it until I heard them and then saw them coming down the street. And again, blocking traffic and being disruptive because that's what a protest does. But everybody was honking and cheering, and people, the cars going by were all cheering. And so it was very moving. To be able to see it and be not a part of it, but at least be able to see, a peaceful protest. So, and then the other thing I wanted to mention, thinking about the positive, is on Ravelry's front page, they mentioned a couple of days ago, they mentioned that they had made an additional $13,000 more money from pattern sales than they expected. And so they posted a few different resources, places where people could make donations that they would match. And they matched their $13,000 donation in under 6 hours, which I think is really amazing.
Yeah.
And then
I was going to say, because I'm looking at the page right now, is that they have links to ways to support.
Yes.
There's Bridge is an education training advocacy-oriented organization based in Western Massachusetts. The Equal Justice Initiative, the Twin Cities organizations that are looking, they have a link to different Twin City organizations that are looking for support. What else is here? Oh, the Calvary Evangelical Lutheran Church. that is addressing food scarcity in the neighborhood. And then resources to support Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
And what else do we have here? Electblackleaders.com to help support Black candidates and voting them into office.
Vote.
And also, Kelly, this has been on their page for a long time, but the BIPOC in Fiber, founded by Jeanette Sloan. And so they have a link also to that list to how to support people of color, designers of color.
Yeah.
So,
and her site, she started her site last year, probably January, February, when there was so much discussion about inclusion and racism in the yarn fiber community. And I went and looked at it this morning. She's really updated the site, although it was kind of slow. I think everybody's going on it from the Ravelry page, but it has a really nice list of fiber artists that you can support. So yeah, if you're not able to be part of a protest, or if you'd like also to be part of contributions, there are lots of people and organizations that you can support with your dollars.
Yeah.
And vote.
Yeah, vote.
All right.
Okay. Should we take a deep breath?
Yes. And just a moment to really appreciate all the work that people are doing out there. I think that's another really positive thing to think about, is all of the work that's happening for justice.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right.
Well, speaking of work, not the same kind of work, but do you have some projects you've been working on, Marsha?
Well, I have. Well, first of all, I'm going to speak about a project that is completely not fiber related.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay. So my friend Kim that I travel with, we've been to Scotland twice and we went to Iceland. She has started a kitchen remodel, and so she's moved in with me. So she's going to be with me and her dog, Orkney, are going to be with me probably most of the summer. And so it's been, it's fun having her here. It's fun having Orkney here. I'm not sure if Enzo is excited about having Orkney here 24/7. Because
he probably has an adjustment to make.
He does, yes. And he's doing a lot of escaping to his crate in the basement and hanging out in my bedroom. But Orkney's a good boy. He's a sweet boy, and he's young. He just turned 1, so he still has puppy stuff going on. But it's been Kim, because I think they're turning off her refrigerator, so she had to clear everything out of her refrigerator, and we had to try to figure out how to get it into my refrigerator. And because of the pandemic, I'm kind of stocked up on things. So there, and then she had sort of been planning. She'd been trying to get rid of things back in from January on, but then the pandemic, and so then she kind of stocked up on things. So anyway, it's been with quite an interesting, comical endeavor yesterday, trying to figure out how to get all combine 2 households of food together.
Yeah. And unlike us, you do not have a coffin-sized cooler.
No, I no longer have a big freezer anymore. I just have the freezer that's in the refrigerator. So,
whenever I defrost the refrigerator, I always bring in the camping cooler. And our refrigerator isn't big, but the camping cooler is quite large. Yes. So it could fit.
You could put a body in there.
I could, yes.
Maybe I need that. Anyway, so it's been kind of fun. We're on day 3, I think. And but she's off doing stuff. Actually, I think she has a friend downstairs. So if you hear anything, that's what's going on.
All right.
So, but Enzo is hanging out on my bed here. So, but anyway, okay, projects. So let me tell you what I've been doing. So, Summer Fjord. Oh, well, so I should just back up and say, too, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but certain counties in the state of Washington have moved from phase 1 to phase 2. And Grays Harbor County has moved to phase 2, and that is where Seabrook is located on the Washington coast. And we had my brother and Kim and I had been planning on going down to Seabrook the first week in May. They were not open. So they moved to the last week in May, and we were able to go to the beach. So
nice.
I cannot even begin to describe how fabulous it was to get in the car and go someplace that was not just to Safeway to have them load groceries into the back of my car. It was, the beach was beautiful. We had rain one day, but it cleared up in the afternoon, and we spent the afternoon on the beach. So basically 5 days on the beach. It was interesting to I will get to my knitting, but it was interesting just to watch how it is as we go into phase 2, how it's going to be. So all of the shops were, and there's not that many that were open. I should just say all the restaurants are closed to dine in, but they were doing takeout.
Do they have a new restaurant in that one area
the place that Mill 109 where we always ate, that has a Mexican restaurant now. And actually, I said that wrong. Prior to our arrival, I was told it was takeout only. The day before we arrived, because they moved to phase 2, they allowed dine-in. And that was an interesting experience because I am not comfortable with that yet. And it's going to be interesting going forward in phase 2 when that happens in King County, which is the county that Seattle is located in. And the same thing with Kelly. I don't know when California or the county, how they're going to go into phase 2. But
we've just started phase 2, and I don't know. Well, Monterey County is doing dine-in now. That's what they've said, but I don't know that all restaurants are doing it. And I can't imagine anything less appetizing than being served food by someone wearing gloves and a mask.
Yes, I have to say,
I just can't imagine that would feel like you want to eat the food.
So I have to say, we didn't eat and we didn't dine in or at all. I said I'm not comfortable with it yet, and people were not 6 feet apart. Because they can't, they're not large enough restaurants to have people 6 feet apart. If you had people 6 feet apart, you'd only have 2 tables. And I just watching I won't name the businesses, but one business we went in, I felt pretty comfortable the way they had it organized about just allowing 2 people in at a time. If you were one person at a time could go in. If you were a couple, that you've been together the whole time, then 2 people could go in. But they were really monitoring it. They had masks, they had gloves on, they changed the gloves between each customer. We went in another business, no one had masks on. They had gloves, but they were handling credit cards and serving up food with those same gloves. So I walked in and I walked back out.
That's not even good in normal times.
And so
you have somebody who's doing the.
So it is an interesting thing just to think about when they are saying they're opening everything up. But what does that mean on a personal? It's a personal decision about when you're going to. Just because things are open, you have to decide individually what you're going to do. So that's just a side note about all of that. So we just, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, we just had our first case at work. I mean, I'm not at work, but some people are. And, when I would Zoom into meetings, I would notice that, there were people all in the same room together because they didn't know how to do, I think because they don't know how to do their own technology. So they would come where someone else was which I think is, to me, that's just astounding at this point. Faculty had to learn it in 2 days. And at the end of 2.5 months, there are managers who still are not able to work from their office in Zoom. I don't know why they had to come all to one room. But it was the same thing. It's like, okay, why are you sitting? I mean, I wouldn't even be within 6 feet of somebody if I was in the same room with them, in an enclosed space. And maybe I'm just more worried. But anyway, we did have our first case at the college. And, with somebody who is working on the campus. And so then there were other people who were exposed. And so, and they're saying that in our county, they expect at least a small surge to happen this month because we get an influx of population for harvesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how phase 2 rolls out in different places.
Anyway, what this really meant, though, is we had a lot of time in that house to knit because we were not eating out. So we would just get up and spend 4 hours on the beach and then come back. And we were eating dinner at the house, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the house, and then just a lot of knitting. So now I'm going to start the knitting conversation after all this.
Okay.
So I think the last episode I talked about having cast on for Summer Fjord, the Trin-Annelie.
Oh, yeah. You were already in the shoulders and talking about the
so I
construction.
Finished the shoulders and I joined in the round now, and I have done probably, I'm going to say conservatively 8 inches probably. I've done...
Nice.
It might be more than that. It might even be 10 inches now that I'm actually looking at it. I'm using, it's a kind of a blue, robin's egg blue, kind of maybe tealy blue kind of background. And then white and gold stripes. I think I do 4 repeats of the stripe sequence. And I'm halfway through the second one, almost to the end of the second stripe sequence. So I'm getting there. I'm making progress. And I'm enjoying knitting this. This is linen.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't like knitting with linen, but I am enjoying this. I like it. Now that I'm in the round, I have some concerns though, Kelly, because I have to carry the yarns that I'm not using as I'm doing the color work up the one side. And I'm concerned that it looks a little messy compared to the side that I'm not carrying the yarn.
Yeah. Are you doing a
yes,
faux seam? Because is that part of the pattern, or did you just decide to? Okay, yeah. I think that will help. Yeah, it's tricky because linen you don't get the scent. The stretching doesn't happen the same with wool, where it kind of all just
it's very
works
unforgiving.
out.
Yeah.
Yes. But like the one that I made, it came out okay. But as you'll hear when I talk about my projects, that doesn't always happen.
But when you did the Summer Fjord, though, you didn't do color, right? It was all one color?
No, yeah, I just had one color, but I did alternate.
Oh, you
schemes.
did? Okay. All right. I'm not going to worry about it right now because what can I do but just keep knitting? I'm doing the best I can, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then in between this, I would take breaks and I would work on the Arne and Carlos sock that I'm making for my brother. I've got the foot is, I'm almost down to the toe of.
Oh, nice. You're almost done.
On the first one, yeah.
Sock.
So I'm making progress on that.
Good.
The simple shawl, haven't touched it. I should probably not even talk about that again because I haven't done anything with it. And then
put it back in hibernation.
And then I did do the swatch for the Holey Comfort cardigan by Hinterm Stein, and I'm using Elemental Affects Cormo for that. And I've done the swatch, and now I just have to. But I've not cast on yet. So.
I'm going to ask you a question. What is the gauge that you're getting?
I don't know because I've not measured it yet.
Oh, okay. What is the size of the yarn?
It's a DK. I'm sorry. I take that back. I'm completely wrong. It's sport weight.
Oh, okay.
So I'll report in next time about that because I will.
Well, you'll hear why.
Oh, okay.
In just a few moments, why I'm asking you that question.
And then the other thing I did, and I was so excited about it, and I have to thank our listener who inspired us to do was the inspiration for our spin along, summer spin along, is I pulled out my spinning wheel, and
yay!
It was one of the days that Kim was moving her stuff in, and I think it was the day that we did the. It was yesterday. I can tell you. I know what day it was. It was yesterday, where we'd done all the refrigerator stuff, and then she left to go do some stuff at her house, and I just sat down out in the backyard. It was a gorgeous day, and I sat there for an hour and a half, or maybe 2 hours spinning. And I think it's been a year since I've done any spinning. And
yeah, it had been a long time for me too.
So good to sit in the backyard in the sun spinning. It's so meditative. I had both dogs with me. They both had just chilled out and were laying out in the sun, flat on their sides. It was complete heaven. And I'm spinning from Huckleberry Knits. I think when we went to Fiber Fusion, or no, I'm sorry, I take that back. When we went to St. Distaff Day, I think I bought this. And it's a camel, merino, and silk braid.
I think I do remember that one.
And
really
very,
pretty.
very soft and luxurious. And so that's what I'm spinning. And I'm planning I want to get that off my bobbins. And then I'm going to start some other roving that I have. I'll start another project because I have all summer to sit in the backyard and spin.
Yes.
Anyway, but that's it for me for projects.
Okay. Well, I have all summer too because I turned in grades. I finished them, and then I sent out the notices to students, put them into the course management system and sent out the notifications to students. And then I waited a day before I actually put them into the college system, just in case there was some mistake, just in case some A student accidentally got an F and emailed me in a panic. And then I put them in and I'm done. I still there's work I have to still do related to the curriculum committee and the pandemic and all the online classes that we had to offer, and we have to get some special approvals. So I do have some work still to do. But yeah, I feel very free.
So what's the first thing you did with this sense of freedom?
Binge watched the British baking show. And I don't even bake. I mean, I'm not really that interested in the baking or the cooking or, any of that stuff. But I felt like just watching
things being baked,
TV,
watching someone else bake.
Something I didn't have to think about. I didn't have to concentrate on. It didn't matter if I zoned out. There was no mystery that I was trying to keep up with, or no police procedural stuff that I had to see bodies dead or think about who done it.
And the only drama in that show is something didn't bake all the way, or it got burned, or it fell.
Yeah, and they're so nice. I mean, they're nice to each other. They're so nice
in this competition. It's the most non-competitive show that ever.
Yeah. Even the judges, I noticed, they make jokes about the one guy and how tough he is, but they are both very conscious of what we call in education a warm comment and a cool comment. And a warm comment and a cool comment, kind of mixing so that you're not everything is a criticism. So that's been it's not very, I don't know. It's kind of the equivalent of eating cotton candy.
It's the equivalent of eating chocolate chip cookies. Warm and yummy. Yummy.
Yeah. Even before school was out, I did get a couple of things finished. So I finished my baby doll South Down socks, and I almost ran out of yarn on the second sock. You know how I was trying to make sure I used all the yarn? I split the yarn into two halves. And so I was pretty confident that if I just did the same thing on the second sock that I did on the first sock, everything would work fine. And it didn't quite come out that way. So I had to, but I had a swatch because I had entered that skein in the fair. So I had made a swatch to go with my entry. I don't normally swatch for socks.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, good. Whew, I don't have to worry if my ball of yarn runs out. I still have a swatch that I can unravel. And I did have to unravel my swatch to finish those socks. So there was a little drama. But I'm glad to be finished with them because I have to say I did not enjoy knitting them. But I put them on and they really are nice.
Okay.
They're thick, kind of stiff and thick. And I do think that yarn, when I weighed it to try to figure out my yardage, because I never did calculate yardage for that skein. And so I pulled out a few yards of yarn. This is not very accurate, but I pulled out a few yards of yarn and weighed it on my scale, and then sort of calculated, how much yardage that was. And it's definitely thicker than fingering weight. Overall, it's more like a sport weight in terms of the yardage that I got in the skein. So that's why they're stiff. Sport weight on size zeros is not fun.
They look great. I'm looking at your Ravelry page.
Yeah, they came out nice. Thanks. Yeah. I'm not unhappy with them, and I think they'll wear really well. I think if I had used thicker or bigger needles, I would have more problem with, potentially getting holes in them or whatever. So
how tall are they? How tall? Because they look like they go to your knees in the picture.
No, they don't. That's just the way my picture looked. They're about the same height as my regular socks, whereas the length of the sock is just a tiny bit, or the length of the cuff is just a tiny bit longer than the foot of the sock. So mid-calf, kind of like before your calf starts to get bigger, right in there. So, and then, so I finished those, and I also, with handspun, was inspired. So I grabbed some handspun that I had spun. I had dyed it with turquoise and red, and it came out really interesting. And I spun it up, and then I never used it. And so I got that out and made a hat.
Oh, that's nice.
And I started and finished it in between the podcasts. I hadn't even started it in the last episode. So started it, finished it, have a little bit of texture patterning on it, but the yarn is kind of marled. I used two strands. So I made like a worsted weight gauge hat, but with two strands. It was about fingering weight. So, and it's a pretty kind of a stiff hat too, I have to say. It's Targhee, which is a really bouncy yarn. And kind of, it's kind of matte. The feel of it and the look of it too is kind of, it doesn't have really any shine. And the feel of it is kind of cottony, I think. So, anyway, finished that hat. I wore it. It sounds funny to say I was wearing a hat in the end of May, but I actually wore it one day. We had rain and cool temperatures. And I thought, I need a hat. So I put it on one morning and wore it for a while, but it's a little small, I think, for me. So I haven't washed it yet, so I don't know. It might relax a little. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it or if I'm going to put it in the pile of hats that I give away, charity hats. And then I finished spinning, thinking of Targhee, I finished spinning the Targhee lamb skeins. I have about 1,500 yards. When I washed them, they shrunk up, and so I lost probably between 100 and 200 yards just in the washing when they shrunk up. And I have some sad news. I swatched, and I have some sad news.
This is for the grandpa cardigan?
Yeah. So I did my swatch, and I don't know. I just cannot get the right gauge with the yarn. So I used size 7s, which is what it called for. And it was supposed to be, it's supposed to be about 5.5 stitches per inch. So what is that? 22 stitches in a 4-inch swatch in the cable pattern, because that seemed like an awfully tight gauge to me. Like, oh, that's really tight for a DK weight yarn. So I swatched with it, but it's in the cable pattern. So I swatched with it, and I got not that many. I got too many stitches. I got 27 stitches in a little over 4 inches. So that didn't work. But I liked the way the fabric felt. And I thought, well, maybe I can, but it's cabled all over. There's so much going on in terms of, decreasing and the V-neck of the cardigan and the shawl collar. And I thought, you know what? I don't think I have the skill or the desire to try to say, okay, I'm just going to figure out which size I need to make, rearrange things, make some adjustments, not with all those cables. And every size is like different. So, there's a different pattern, and even the cabling is a little different for each size because, because of the size of the repeat, I guess you have to you can't just make a cabled sweater with, like, what do? Put in more stitches? Well, what if it's not a full cable, to make that width? So just seemed too complicated. So then I thought, all right, I'm going to go ahead and swatch with size 8 needles because I usually am a tight knitter. So I swatched with the size 8 needles the other day, and my second swatch is I tried so hard because it needed to be, with the 27 stitches, I needed to get it to be 5 inches. And so I washed it, and I kind of blocked it. I didn't pin it to 5 inches, but I kind of like spread it out to make it like 5 inches. And it was kind of holey, and the purl part in between the cables was kind of holey. And then by the time it dried, it, squished back up, and it's only like 4.5 inches, not 5.
I don't mean to laugh, Kelly.
So,
I'm laughing.
It's like,
I feel your pain.
I don't understand, honestly. I mean, I know that I'm a tight knitter, but honest to God, how loose of a knitter does Holey Locatelli have to be to get this gauge with? Because my yarn is not really DK. It's more like DK to worsted. And, she called for size 7 needles, and then I'm trying size 8 needles. And I mean, that's just so loose and floppy. I don't know. It's not going to work. So I'm not going to make that cardigan. I'm going to have to try something else. So then I was looking around in Ravelry and putting in different gauges and stuff with my yarn. And that's when your Holey Comfort pattern came up, the Hinterm Stein one. But then I realized, and I thought, okay, I guess, Marsha and I don't go places that often together. We could have the same sweater.
We've done it before.
Right?
We have many sweaters.
Yeah. Yeah, we could have the same sweater. But then I realized that I have to swatch again because my gauge is with the cable. So, and that is not going to be the same gauge as some other pattern. I found another cable pattern that I liked. That was that gauge. But then I thought, okay, that's not going to work either because it's a different cable pattern. So it had like more cables to it, or I don't know, it was different. And I thought, you know what? I wouldn't even chance that. And that pattern required more yardage. So if I do decide to do the other cabled pattern, I'm going to have to spin more. I'm going to have to spin more of that yarn because I think it was over 15. I think it started at 1,500 yards for the smallest size.
Because cables eat up a lot of yarn,
Yeah. So it's a really, I can't remember now which one it was. I did not mark it, but it was another shawl collar cable cardigan that I found. But I think then I thought, oh man, maybe I just need to give up on the cables with this and just find a different shawl collar. Or maybe I don't want a shawl collar cardigan. Maybe I want something totally different. but it's irritating because I was really ready to start on this project. Yeah. And now, not only do I need to find a new pattern, I need to swatch again.
Yeah, after your school year, you don't want this. You don't want you want a British baking show equivalent of. You know what I mean? This is too much to figure out after your school year. So
I know, and then the other thing is, I was looking at some other patterns that were not cabled, and like you said, cabling eats up the yarn. So then I'm going to have all this leftover 3-ply targi. But I could make myself another long sweater, kind of like the running water. Not that pattern, but similar to that cardigan that goes down to my hip length. It could just be a big oversized. I mean, I could use 1,500 yards. I could find a pattern and I could make a sweater that used 1,500 yards. That wasn't cabled. I have a thought.
Good. I don't know how good a thought it is, but do you remember we made the acorn trail with the Amy Herzog pattern? I think you can design your own sweater. I haven't looked at her website for a really long time, but it seems like when I did, when we did the acorn trail, we just picked her pattern, but then we put in our gauge and our sizes and it spit out the pattern, right? So you could do that. I also figured I shouldn't probably be saying this because I haven't actually researched it again, but when I made I've made two of her patterns. And when I designed myself, I decided like how long I wanted the sleeves and how much ease I wanted, everything.
Right.
And what kind of band I wanted. And I think you were able to, able to choose cables, add cables to it too, I thought.
Okay. That's kind of an interesting idea.
We're going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to research this and you're going to have to insert a little edit into this if it's true or not, because I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
I seem to recall that, but I don't know. I mean, if she's designed a sweater with cables, I would think that you would be able to just design your own sweater with cables. It through her.
And it doesn't have to be cables all over the sweater. It just seemed like I wanted to do something that would be a little bit interesting. So I don't know. I have to swatch again. Yeah. And I have to open my mind again. That's the hard part. Like you get yourself settled on what you're going to make with a particular yarn. Mm-hmm. And I should know better than to do that before I've actually swatched.
Right.
So anyway, the search is on for something to do with my 3-ply targi. But I have a lot of the yarn, so I have a lot of flexibility in what I select. Mm-hmm. And I could go to the custom fit and try something like that too. That sounds like an interesting idea. I know Amy Herzog has a lot of patterns that I've liked over the years, put into my queue and taken out of my queue, and so I haven't seen anything in my pattern searches recently, but I'm sure she has some good cable-y choices too.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's see what.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, there's something I want to ask about because I saw as I was looking at your project page, I saw the paving mitts.
Yes.
So I want to ask about that because this is the Tunisian crochet, right? That we took the class.
Yes. I've been working on them. I finished one and then I started the second one and got quite a ways along and then decided to try it on and I couldn't get it over my hand. I'm not sure what I did in the second one to make it so tight, but they're really nice. The Tunisian crochet is fun. Tunisian crochet in the round is really interesting because you go around with the one color and then you slide it back and then you catch up with the other color. So you have a crochet hook on each end. And so it's kind of like you're chasing, right? So you crochet along, picking up all your stitches onto the hook. And then you go back to the beginning and then you do the other part of the crochet where you crochet everything off the hook from from where you left off from where you started up to where you left off. So you're always kind of chasing around and around and around the circle. But they're nice. I really like the pattern. The pattern is by Ellen Silva, who is Twin Set Ellen. And I remember her talking about them on the podcast when she was doing the podcast with her sister, Jan. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know Tunisian crochet. I didn't even know it existed at that point. And so I remember going and looking at them then. And then when we took the class in Tunisian crochet, I thought, okay, I'm going to go and check those out. They actually have a thumb, not just a hole. And I don't have any mitts that actually have a thumb. And I made them a little bit longer, so they go up to about the last knuckle of my finger. So they're a little bit longer wrist than she calls for, and a little bit longer hand than she calls for. And I finished the first one, and I started on the second one, and then restarted the second one. And they're really pretty fast if you don't have to rip them out and start over. Yeah. So I'm almost ready to start the thumb gusset on the second one. And actually, the second one is a little more roomy now that I've redone it than my original one. I think my gauge kind of changed as I got going, you know.
Yeah.
And got more of the feel of it. So
yeah.
So yeah, that's another project that I started and have going. And then I also have my cotton tee that I'm making from the Marianne's cardigan pattern. I spent some time. Yes, I spent some time during my binge watching of the baking show, ripping that out. So I ripped all the way back, which was, I didn't measure it, but I would say it was probably over 8 inches. I ripped all the way back to the armholes, and now I've put in the faux seam on the side. I started with 2 purl stitches because I have 12 stitches under the arm, and so I had a marker in the middle. And I thought, oh, it would just be easier than remembering which side of the marker I put the purl stitch on, to just do a purl stitch on either side of the marker.
Right.
I did that for a few rows, and then it looked like that's going to be a little too big and bulky. So I pared it down to 1 stitch. So now I have a 1 stitch faux seam. So 1 purl stitch on each side. And that's where my yarn changes, where I do the alternating of the skeins. And hopefully that will help to hide the messiness of that, because it was bad. I looked at it again before I ripped it out. I thought, okay, I'm going to look at this one more time just to see if I really do need to rip it out. And I looked at it and I thought, this is terrible. So it looked more terrible than it had before. Like once I put it away, I was like, yes, this definitely needs to be ripped out. It took me about an hour and a half to rip it out because I had to wind the balls by hand, and they were alternating, so I had to untangle them. And I had to wind the cakes because they were, I was pulling from the inside of a cake of yarn. Right. So I had to unwind the outside. I was almost done with, the cake of yarn was almost gone. Not almost gone, like I was going to run out of yarn, but, I was towards the end. But still, it was quite a bit of hand winding just to get to where I started to rip, and then a lot of hand winding and untangling as I ripped it out. So it was about an hour and a half, maybe a little more, to unravel it. Yeah. But now I'm going along again, and it really is. I should have ripped it out sooner, because this is the kind of knitting that I really needed. When I was still teaching and I would stop for the evening, this is the kind of knitting that I needed, was just going around and around and around with my favorite size of needles, 3s. And I like knitting with cotton yarn. So, and the needles are Addies. They're nice and slippery. I don't know if they're Addies. They're They're actually the square needles, but they're, those nickel-plated, really slippery needles. So the kind of needles I like, the size I like, but I didn't want to rip out. But now it's going along again. So, and I've also been doing, in addition to, you were talking about spinning, I did a lot of carding because I was finishing the handspun targi. And so I got a lot of carding done, but then my drive band on my carder broke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's that pliable, that, I don't even know what polyurethane.
It's like a round,
It's a round, clear plastic. And as I know from my Wyatt spinning wheel, it, ultraviolet light and just age, probably it's 20 years old. I mean, I've had it almost 20 years, I'm sure. So, just age made it break. And I thought, oh, no problem, because I have another one in the drawer. Well, the other one is also 20 years old. So it's not on the carder, but it's just as damaged by age. Yeah. And so it was so small, and there was no stretch left to it because it had not been used in 20 years. So,
but you can order another one.
I did,
though,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I went on the website. It's a Duncan carder, and I went on the website and got and ordered it, and got an email from Mr. Duncan right away, and saying if you have any questions, let us know. And so it's in the mail. So I should be getting it probably, maybe even today. So that's good. And that will be, good for another 20 years or so. I debated about buying two. And then I thought, okay, what's the sense of that? Because
it'll just go bad sitting there.
Yeah,
right?
They don't really have a shelf life. Well, 20 years is a pretty long shelf life, I guess. Yeah. But I mean, the one I had lasted a long time. I didn't need a second one. And it's not that hard to order a second one. So,
yeah.
So anyway, that's my spinning kind of stopped because the carding stopped. And I was thinking I was going to card some wool that I hadn't, I washed some up that had been in my stash and sticky. And I thought, this needs to be washed. So I had washed it up, re-washed it, because I guess I didn't wash it well the first time. But I wasn't able to card it because the carder broke. So that'll have to be for another episode. Yeah. But I've been really enjoying the thread, the spin and thread. And I did post the 2 finished object threads for people to post. I should post my yarn, my brown targi yarn in there as a finished object. Most of it was done before the spin along even started, but since whips count, not like I'm in the competition or I'm in the drawing, I'm going to win a prize, but I should post mine in there just to have it there. So
I know I'm excited to post mine when I get there. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, good.
Okay. Well, should we move on? We have prizes to give away.
Yeah, we have some exciting prize stuff to talk about and to give away.
Okay, so let's just talk about it. So we had a contest which has ended, and it's called Show Us Your Pattern, and we're going to. What we just asked people to do is go into the thread that we started and show us a picture of your pattern. Any condition it is. We're just really curious to know how, and it's been really fun to see wine stains and cat claw marks, and some that are perfectly preserved in their plastic sleeves, and some that are like mine, scribbled on, and Post-it notes, and it's been really fun. So anyway, we have drawn 6 winners. And we have 6 skeins of yarn from Duran Dye Works and worsted weight. And Callie, let's announce the winners?
Yeah, let's do it. And the way the prizes are going to work, it'll be first come, first serve. So the first message that I get from someone, they'll get the first choice of the skeins of yarn. And you can look at the top of the that thread to see the skeins, and then make your selection, your skein selection from there. And so as they are selected, I'll mark them out. I'll try to, I think I can do it that way. As they're selected, I'll just edit the pictures. And then you can select your skein from the ones that are remaining. So the first person to hear this and contact me on Ravelry 100 projects or via the email will have first choice, and then it'll go on from there.
Okay.
All right.
So let's make our first winner is Prairie Poet, Jane.
All right.
Our second winner is KBK.
Congratulations, Kay.
Our third winner is Knit Admin, Mary.
All right.
We know Mary.
Yeah.
She goes to the retreat. Joan Burtock, Joan.
Nice.
And our fifth winner is Celestial Angoras, Ariane. And our sixth and last winner is Mimi Fan.
Okay.
Mimi. So, ladies, contact us.
Yes.
And claim your skein.
Yeah, the skeins are really nice. They are also Targi. We've got a Targi theme going on. So there are some beautiful skeins from Duran Dye Works, and I'm looking forward to mailing them out to people. Congratulations, everyone, and thanks so much for showing us that. I think it was very interesting, and people talked also about how they store their patterns, which made me think that I should probably go through my binder, because I have a binder where I have stored patterns after I've used them, and then I kind of stopped and decided to just throw them away. And then some patterns I've just tucked into the binder, like not even drug it out or opened it, but just kind of squished them into the top. And I'm sure that it's a mess in there. But it also, what I really should be using it for are the patterns that I don't have on Ravelry.
Yeah.
So I have some patterns from back in the olden days, Marsha, from the spin list, when it was a listserv and it was just coming through email. There were patterns, and then people would put their patterns in the spin list. And I have, I don't know, quite a few of those that I printed out on my printer from the email and had in a file folder that I kind of do want to save, just mostly just because the memory of them is really fun. That was a good community on a listserv before there was such a thing as Ravelry. So, all right. Yeah. So contact me on Ravelry 100 projects or the email toUsefiberadventures.com.
All right. And let's talk about our next thing we have is our patron appreciation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, Kelly.
Okay. So Marsha and I have a Patreon page, and we have been sort of remiss in doing the patron drawings that we had originally planned to do every quarter. I don't know how quarters go by so fast.
I know.
But they do. It's like, okay, wait. Did we do this quarter? Did we not do this quarter? So I think it's been several quarters that we have not done a drawing for our patrons. And so I thought, our patrons have been so good to us over the years and are continuing to support us, even in times that are difficult. And so I thought, let's just do something for all of our patrons. So Marsha and I discussed it, and we decided we're going to do a giveaway to each one of our patrons who is active now at the beginning of June. They'll get a Ravelry download pattern of their choice up to a $7 value. So if you're a Patreon patron, get in touch with me. You can get in touch with me either through Ravelry, through Patreon, or through email. Again, that's toUsefiberadventures.com. And let me know what pattern you would like for me to get for you through Ravelry. It has to be a downloadable pattern. that I can give as a gift through Ravelry. But I just wanted to give a gift to all of those patrons, those listeners who have supported us.
We very much appreciate the support.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's enabled us to, be able to pay our hosting fees. It's enabled us to be able to pay for shipping of prizes. And now some of that is going to be used to buy you all a pattern. So thank you so much.
Okay. And then let's talk about our summer spin-in.
Yes.
Or spin-along. Spin-along. What do we call it?
You called it the summer spin-in in the last episode, and I thought, that sounds nice. Okay. That sounds kind of nice.
Okay.
It kind of reminds me of the summer of love, which we could use a summer of love, right?
It's like a sit-in, but a spin-in.
Right. So, it started on May 25th. So just a little over a week ago, which was Memorial Day here in the U.S. And it'll go all the way through Labor Day, which is September 7th. I don't have that date in the show notes, but I believe it's September 7th.
Yeah.
So, and I mentioned I have an FO thread for the skeins, but I also put up an FO thread because another way that you can participate is by using hand spun. So even if you're not a spinner, you can knit or weave or crochet or do kumihimo or some other yarn craft with hand spun yarn.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be fun. It's inspired me to get that, to dust off my spinning wheel, and it felt fabulous to start spinning again. So I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, it'll be good. And we'll talk more about, I think maybe we'll do one episode during the summer, maybe our next episode. But we should do an episode where we really focus in on spinning. Tour de Fleece is coming. I think that's in July.
Okay.
End of June or July. And that's, if you haven't ever participated in Tour de Fleece, that's another spinning event that's held on Ravelry where people spin every day during the Tour de France.
A last little bit of news, Kelly, is I got an email from Blueprint that used to be Craftsy, and they're closing down.
I know.
So, how many years I've been talking about taking a colorwork class? I guess that ship has sailed, and I will not be taking. I guess I should have taken a class. Maybe they wouldn't be closing down if I had taken that colorwork class. I feel so bad. I do. It's like that's kind of, they did not give a reason, so I don't know why. I'm assuming it's
they were purchased
coronavirus related, but I don't know.
They were actually purchased. I would think maybe not. I mean, it could be, I guess, but they were purchased by NBC or NBC Media or something.
Oh,
so it's not. And it's been part of some version of NBC for a little while. When it went to Blueprint, that was when that happened, and they stopped purchased the class and had the subscription model. So I don't know, maybe the subscription model didn't work in this case. I know I didn't continue. I had bought some classes, just standalone classes when it was Craftsy. Not that many, but I had bought a few. And but then when they changed to the subscription model, I thought, no, I don't buy enough. I don't use it enough to make it worth the subscription. So, and it's a little different from the Jane Stafford Guild, which I have used a lot. But also with that, I feel like I'm supporting the person.
Yeah.
As opposed to supporting, with a subscription to Blueprint, it didn't feel like I was supporting a person.
Right.
So, anyway, sad.
Yeah.
But I guess there's going to be a way for us to get our classes, the ones that we purchased. I have a bread class I'd like to watch again.
I wonder if I could purchase my colorwork class now and then get it.
I don't think so, because now they're like a subscription.
Oh, that's right.
And they're not open.
You just explained all of that.
They're not taking subscriptions anymore.
I was paying attention. I swear.
But I think you could probably find a colorwork class. One of the reasons that they might be one of the reasons for the closure might actually just be that some of the teachers can now, there are so many more platforms for somebody to do this on their own, like the Jane Stafford Guild is doing, that maybe that's a direction that the industry is going, and you might be able to find a teacher who is going to be, having their classes in that way online.
Okay.
So,
all right. And anything else?
I don't think there's anything else.
All right. Well, we'll say goodbye then. Stay safe.
Stay safe and vote.
Yes. And donate.
Yes, that too, if you can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, we'll say goodbye then.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.